Good evening, Namaste, welcome one and all to Reels of Life Season 2 and Episode 2. As humans, we are hardwired to respond to stories. And we have been telling stories for centuries, storing stories during our childhood, stories during campfires, stories in books, and stories on social media now. Because we are loaded with loads of experiences, and every experience is a story. And whenever we share our journeys, it is like we are connecting with so many hearts, and we are inviting them to connect with us as well at a personal level. And this is what is all about Reels of Life, journeys of so many people. And what do we have today as a Women's Day special? She began to write at the age of 10 and was lucky enough to have traveled around the country because she's a kid of an army man and also later an army wife. Her experiences during those years helped her hone her interest and her flair for writing. Meeting new people helped her notice details and putting them into her different interesting characters. She owns many poetry and short story anthologies to her credit and also the psychological thriller The Shadow Trilogy. Whom am I talking about? An author, a poet, a freelance journalist, executive director of a school, and much more. Let us welcome the most inspiring woman of today's episode, a special episode of Women's Day, Deepthi Menon. Welcome, Deepthi, to Reels of Life.
Thank you so much, Rohini. My God, that was such a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. I'm happy, very, very happy to be here.
Lovely. We are also equally happy to have you. Deepthi, you wear so many hats. Just now as I spoke, you're a writer, a published author, poet, executive director of a school, a freelance journalist, and many more. Please tell us about your journey. How do you manage so many things? A journey. We want to hear your journey first of all.
I think, Rohini, most of those hats are all connected. They're interconnected because I wrote my first poem when I was 10 years old and then moved on to being a short story writer. And I wrote articles. And I think I became an editor also in due course of time. So all these are interconnected. I think one just naturally progressed into the other. And as if you talk about being an educationist, my mother is one of the most inspiring people I know, and she is a very, very staunch educationist. She's built up a school on her own. So maybe I did see her, the fervor with which she kind of taught her students and interacted with them. Maybe that inspired me when I was young, though I did not want to be a teacher. Once I got married into the army, I realized that that is the best job because wherever you go, you tend to wonder, what can I do? And then all the schools beckon you and you say, okay, I think that is my calling. So once I started teaching, I realized that again is a huge passion, as big a passion as writing is. And so once we retired and we're in Kerala, I just took over the school that my mother had started, and that is how I turned into the executive director, having taken over from her. But I think all the roles just flow into one another, and I couldn't be in a happier place.
That's so lovely. Such a wonderful thing to hear from you. And Deepthi, I have been seeing you as a poet and following you as a writer and an author since couple of the moment I have entered into the field of writing on different platforms. So this question, we have been having this particular question with all of us. Many writers. Whenever you get an emotion, what connects with you? Is that a poem or is that a prose?
I think actually it depends on the piece. It depends on what is there in front of you. Normally, you say emotions are more easily expressed through poetry. But I have found that prose also lends itself very easily to emotion. For instance, when I was 17, my father passed away. Now that was a huge event in our lives. It was a huge setback as far as we are concerned. And what I did find is that while I wrote poetry, I wrote a number of poems at that time, all about death and loss, loneliness, and things like that. I One of the finest pieces that I feel I'm very emotionally attached to was a contest which I took part in Femina. It was it was a letter to anyone. So at that moment, I wrote a letter to my dad, and I titled it "A Letter to Dad," and it said, "Dad, where were you? Where were you when I got married? Where were you when my sisters were growing up? Where were you when my mother was setting up her school?" You know, and it was a very emotional kind of. I think I just brought everything I had out, and it actually won me the first prize. But more importantly, I think it helped me to kind of bring out my emotions. So that was a prose piece. It was a letter, and yet it kind of contained my emotions. Beautifully, as I feel. I think that is one of the finest pieces I've ever written in my entire life, and that was when I was much, much, much younger. So I think the form has nothing to do with it. I think it is more the content, what you write, that
Yes.
actually makes it an emotional piece, or a humorous piece, or a non-emotional piece, or anything.
Exactly. It's so well said. The last line. It's what you write actually that makes it emotional or fictional or whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah, so very beautiful.
Mhm.
True, very true. Because emotions. The moment you are in a particular situation or an experience, so whatever goes through your mind, that we ink in the form of in the words that becomes something. It could be a poem, it could be a prose, it could be a story or whatever it is. So very
Absolutely,
lovely.
absolutely.
So you write lots of short stories. You have been recently writing a blog also continuously with that is entwined with different kinds of emotions. So whenever you're writing a story or a blog or a piece, a short story or a novel, what do you first think of? The plot or the characters that you want to be in your story. How do you develop them?
I think most of the time I do think of my characters. One
Hmm.
character comes to mind, like my shadow in the mirror. It revolved around a number of very strong women, and the central character is the first thing that came to my mind. That was the kernel, the midpoint around which my entire story unraveled. So there it was character. In my latest book, also called The Web of Shadows, there also characters play an important role, but plot is equally important. There I
Hmm.
had to visualize the plot first, and the
Hmm.
setting, because it is set in two different places, in Bombay, in Mumbai, and in Kerala. So
Hmm.
the setting was important, the plot was important, the characters were already there in my mind. So I think all of them have to fall into place. You cannot give more importance to one or the other. Yes, when you're writing it, yes, you can actually say, okay, this came first or that came, second. But when it all comes together, all of them play an equally important role. To have a
Hmm.
full bodied novel or a full bodied short story, I think you need all these things to fall. It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Hmm.
Till the last piece falls into place, the puzzle is not complete. So I
Yes.
think
Yes.
in certain a number of my short stories, the plot has come first. I said, "Oh, I've got this amazing idea. How do I put it across?" Okay, then let us think about what character will put across, will drive the action. In a lot of my short stories, I've done that. But for
Hmm.
me, character is very, very important, and many of my characters are modeled around people I know. People I know, or I disguise them very cleverly. But yes, you have the basic traits, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I
Ha.
think it's a blend of everything as far as I'm concerned.
Ha.
I don't stick to any one model as such. I use a lot to put them all together. So that's how I work.
And does it like you have created characters and you have created your plot, and how does your story go like till the end? Do you fix with a particular plot, or you just keep on writing, you just keep on writing, and then you will find an ending to the story? Is it something like that, you go with the flow, or you have something prefixed in your mind, this has to be like this?
No, I have a vague idea. I don't have a very
Mm.
crystal idea. I have a vague
Mm.
idea about where it is leading, but I allow my story and my characters to lead me. Sometimes when
Okay.
you're writing, you're thinking of something and saying, "Oh, this has to be there," but when you reread it, you say that is out of place. Why
Yes.
did I even bother to write that? It doesn't gel. So then you
Mm.
change. But then
Yes.
I do allow my characters to lead me, and
Ah.
certain things, this character is going to do just this, and sometimes you say, "Oh my god, no, if I make her do this, she's going to it's going to again sound very odd." So
Yes.
I'll allow the plot and the characters to lead me. But yes, I do have my constraints that I cannot allow anybody to run away with my thoughts as well. So there is
Uh,
a certain point where I catch hold of my character and say, okay, now you sit down. Now give me a chance to, see what I can do with you.
that is so interesting. And when you are writing an emotional scene or a difficult scene in your novels or short stories, how do you set that mood? How do you get into that mood when you're writing, or when you get automatically into the mood and then write, or when you get that mood, you're going to put it on the paper? How do you do that?
Um, it's a kind of a difficult question because I don't know how I write. you know the one thing that I do know is that for any kind of writing, I have to have my space. I have to
Mm.
have my notebook and pen. If I'm in school, I don't carry my laptop, so something I will just scribble it and keep it there. At night I might just scribble something and keep it there, and it'll be there in my mind, but I don't want to forget it, something that is so special. If I'm at home, like right now I'm sitting, this is my study. I have my books all around me, and I have
Yes.
my laptop in front of me, and I feel very safe here, very happy, very secure. So I sit down and I start writing.
Uh,
I- It's my actually right now. It's only my husband and me at home. So what happens is I can find my mind space any time of the day, except when I'm in school, of course. I don't indulge in writing in school much, but most of the time when I'm at home, I know I'm safe in my study. I can sit down and write at any time. So whether it is an emotional piece, whether it is a humorous piece, whether it is any kind of piece, an essay, I have to have that mind space.
mm.
I don't like
True.
other things jostling within my mind when I'm writing. I try. Sometimes write at 1 o'clock in the night because after a very busy day, you might have people over and all that. And I know I
Yes.
might have to complete something. I will sit and write. And luckily for me, my husband is extremely understanding. He knows he has lived with my madness for now 40 years. So
God.
so he knows when I'm writing, he might be sitting there. He will not disturb me or anything. He gives me my mind space. He gives me my space to do everything that I need to do. And so that is
Right.
how I don't prepare for any scene, any
Uh,
emotional content or anything. I prepare for everything in the same way, in the sense I need my space. I need my mind away from other things. And that, once I get that, I feel I can write anything I want to, but I need that.
Yes, that's true. That's true with every writer and a poet. Usually, as you said, I also, whenever I've got some theme running in my mind, whenever I get a thought, I just scribble it. It could be
Yes.
any piece of paper which I find by my side. I just scribble it. Or sometimes, whenever I get some kind of an emotional thing which I want to add to my story or a poem, I record it because I don't want that emotion to go.
Exactly. Yes, I know.
I just open my phone and I just record it and keep it aside. Later on, I'll come back to it because once that goes off my mind and I come back to sit and write, that emotion I might not carry for a very
I
long
know.
time.
I know. I
So
know.
even in the
Yes.
middle of the night, if I get some thought, even in my dreams, especially I get these thoughts of writing only when I go to sleep, not through that. That is very true. I keep thinking about what I'm supposed to write, and I go to sleep. Then I get beautiful thoughts. So I
Hmm.
don't want to miss those
Oh yes.
because the
Oh,
morning I get up, I forget everything. So I just take my phone and record it and keep it aside.
I know. I
Next day I
really
will look back.
admire you. I admire you for that. Middle of the night, you really don't even want to open your eyes and do anything, and then you're doing recording this. It's
Yeah, because I
amazing.
the moment I open my eyes, I come back to this practical reality and I forget that emotion. I
I
miss
know.
that
I know.
emotion. So it happens with me many a times. It is
I know it
so
happens
good.
with dreams also. Sometimes you get such amazing dreams and you say,
Yes,
put it down. But in the morning,
yes.
you can't do anything in the morning. By morning, you say, what was that? Oh my God. It gone to such a
Exactly,
dream. A Midsummer Night's
exactly,
Dream kind of thing.
exactly. I think we all writers, we go through such things. That's really wonderful.
Oh, yes.
And do you have any particular genre, or you would like to write, or you write in different genres or something like that?
I have been writing different genres because I started like with poetry, went on to
Mm.
the short story genre. Then I've written a number of articles, humorous and otherwise, for
Mm.
newspapers. I was a freelance journalist for 10
Yes.
years when we were in Chennai. I was not
Ah.
teaching. I was not connected with any educational institution. Just 10 years of pure writing and editing and going around watching. Having these. I was freelancing for a number of magazines, and they used to send me
Ah.
to all the plays and the movies and review books. I mean, it was a dream life. Absolutely a
Lovely.
dream life. So
Lovely. True.
yeah. So that was a very very different kind of life. Absolutely. And then what was the question, Rohini?
Genre. I'm talking about what.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then, when once I got to Kerala and I decided, okay, now I'm going to be part of school also. In fact, the COVID played a very important part in my life because though we were, it was all work from home. We had online
Yes.
classes and we had a lot of time in our hands. And
Yes.
that was when I got a number of books out. I
Mm.
I dabbled with children's books. I did the Panchatantra. I did Shakespeare
Mm.
for young readers.
Mm.
I
Yes.
did a biography of my mother. My mother again.
Mm.
I mean, who's an educationist, so it was a whole
Yes.
biography. In fact, they're all here. I did. This is a book. This is poetry.
Oh,
It's called
Deeparadhana.
Deeparadhana of poems. This, of course, is my shadow in the mirror, psychological
Yes.
thriller.
Yes.
The
Yes.
first of my shadow series. This is called Defying Destiny. That's my mother, and that is the biography I did on
Sweet.
her. It's pretty solid. It's almost 500 pages. And then, of course,
Sweet.
I came to a social drama. It's called The Dance and the
Ah.
Trance.
Ah.
And unfortunately, I don't have my latest book with me. I'm still getting copies. I gave away all the copies I had. The Web of
Okay.
Shadows. Again, that is again a dark thriller. So I think I've dabbled at everything. But if
Hmm.
you were to
Exactly.
ask me what is my favorite, it would obviously be thriller. Nothing.
Hmm. That I've been seeing.
I love writing thrillers.
We have been seeing that your trilogy.
Yes. No, it's actually now it's not. It's past that. Now the latest one is my fourth book.
Oh my
So
God. Oh my God.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it. I've got 4 shadow books now to my credit actually, all by
Yeah.
Readermade.
Super. Super. How did you get first published, Deepthi?
Um, that was in 2002, very long
Oh.
ago. I had just no, I got married in 1986, and
Oh.
since I was an army wife, I used to I couldn't get let go of my writing. So I used to write these humorous articles about everything in the army. The dogs, the cuisine, the ladies, the buys, everything. It used to be kind of all humorous, and it used to go into these army magazines. And
Okay.
so people used to wait for every month. I used to write something or the other. So by the end I had quite a nice pile of writing, as you know. And then suddenly one day I said, okay, when I have so much about the army, why don't
Hmm.
I just try and get it published somewhere? So I took this
Hmm.
entire manuscript, I turned it into a manuscript, and I added on a lot more, and then I sent it to
Hmm.
Rupa Publishers,
Hmm.
Delhi. And then one day those were the days of the post. No email and all that. This is some
Okay.
much earlier. So I had sent it in manuscript form, and one day the whole manuscript came back to me, and I said, oh my god, they've rejected it. And you know
Ah.
how it is, when a reject comes, your heart just breaks. So I opened
Ah.
it, and then the letter, the editor had said, the publisher says, I think we think this is a very good idea. If you can add on a few more incidents and make it a little more complete, we would love to publish it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is how um, Arms and the Woman came about.
Hmm. Okay.
And this is a take from you had um, George Bernard Shaw's play Arms and the Man. So I said,
Oh.
okay, let's make this Arms and the Woman. Arms because it's the army, and talking as a lady wife, and I put it across there. Drupa did everything. I did not need to lift a finger. They didn't even send it back for editing or anything. They just took
It's
it. They
wonderful.
did all. They actually put in beautiful illustrations, a nice cover page, nice humorous cover page, and then it. I think I was just lucky, blessed to be in the right place at the right time. So that was my first book, and I look upon it with great fondness because
Is it still like that paperback or the hard copy? Is it still there available?
no, the paperback, it's all been sold out. There are no more
Okay.
copies left. Actually, I would like to make it an ebook and put it across. I'm just trying to
Ha.
still do it because now I have an entirely new set of readers.
Ha.
And on social media, since there are so many people, I was thinking maybe
Yes.
some of them ask me like you do, is it available?
Ha.
I have a
Yes.
copy. In
Yes.
fact, I forgot to take that out. I have a copy of that, but
Okay.
I have only one copy. My mother has one copy, and I think my
Mm.
sisters have a copy each. That's all. The last five,
Mm-hmm.
like my daughter has a copy, of course. So last five
Okay.
copies in existence.
Lovely. That's so. It's a memory actually. Such a
The memory.
wonderful memory of your first book. That's so beautiful.
Yes.
And all those are, they're all real life experiences, I guess.
Oh
Like,
yes.
the
Oh
book.
yes. I think
That
that was, it is non-fiction. It's actually non-fiction. So
I
that's
really
another
love
topic.
nonfiction. Somehow I don't know, like, I connect so much with nonfiction. I usually prefer, reading, biographies of people or real life situations that are put in a book or something like that. I somehow get
I know.
connect myself so much with nonfiction.
I know.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
That's wonderful,
but,
no? And there are so many biographies out there, so many
yes.
autobiographies out there, no? And so many
Yes.
real life incidents.
Yes,
So
and
much.
like I've seen in your stories and some other authors or writers, you pick up real life characters and you embed them into the stories. That is a beautiful part. That is a beauty with which you add. Because whenever I read your stories or your short stories or your blogs, I feel, as if somewhere or the other we connect ourselves with the characters. That is the beauty with which you bring out. It's so there will be so much of whether it is a thriller that Kindle. Is it the Shadow? Which one
Where
is
that
there? Web of
uh,
Shadows. Is it a Kindle version? Is there
uh,
a Kindle version?
all three, the first three are all on Kindle also, and then
Ha.
the second and the third are only on Kindle. They are not print
The sh-
copies.
Actually,
That is
the
Where Shadows Follow and Shadows Never Lie are both
ha.
Kindle copies. They are not in print.
So Shadows Never Lie. Is it short stories? Is it of short
Yes,
stories?
yes, they're all
That I
short. Both
read.
are short stories. Both are
I read.
anthologies, short
I
stories,
read
thrillers.
that. I read that. I read
Oh,
that.
I'm so happy.
I'm yet to give the review, but I read that almost 20 days before. I was just going through the stories, and it is so gripping. In fact, I was feeling, oh my, like, and just was turning the pages continuously, first reading the end and then coming back to the
Oh,
beginning
oh my God.
because I can't hold it in the so for so long.
Oh,
That
thank
is
you.
very
That makes me feel, that is music to my heart, Rohini. Music to my
nice.
heart.
It's beautiful. I just wanted to get into the stories before I have you on my show. So that was the one which I just went through.
Thank
That
you.
is, and
That's my
again I
third
read
book.
all. I went through all your blogs, which you have been consistently writing, and you have in fact written for my platform also once or twice. Poetry is also you have
Yes,
written.
yes,
So
yes,
I
yes.
really love the way you ace it. It's so beautiful. The choice of your words and all. Oh my God, I can speak about this for hours together.
Thank you so much, Rohini. Thank you. That's so sweet of you.
Yes, in fact, we are talking about this shadows trilogy. Are you interested in this? Shadow symbolism. What made you choose this as a series, whatever it is? I just want to know.
Uh, I think shadows, in a sense, my first book, Shadow in the Mirror. At that time, I had no idea I'd be writing three more books after that, based on
Mm-hmm.
the shadow theme. Now, to
Mm-hmm.
me, shadows are, they're very much part of life, light and shadows.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
shadows are, they denote grayness. Life can
Yes.
never be black or white. I always feel that those interesting bits lie in the shadows,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you should not reveal too much, especially when
Yes.
you're writing. You must always have twists in your writing.
Yeah.
Even if you're
True.
writing a romance, you must have some twist there which keeps your readers wondering, oh, what is she up to next? That kind of thing. So shadows, and since I love writing thrillers are filled with shadows, and
Mm.
the grayness in the thrillers, they color the mind of the reader. That is what
Yes.
I found. So
Right.
when my first shadow book was, quite a success, people liked it because
Mm.
I made sure that the twist, the one thing that I made sure was that one twist in the middle, which came, not one person predicted it.
Hmm.
I think I have over 70, almost 80 reviews on Amazon. This
Hmm.
book came in 2016. Not
Hmm.
one person could predict that twist. So I think that I'm very happy about that, because I love startling people. I love shocking people, and people look at me, they say, "You have such an innocent face. How do you look at such dark things?" And I say, I said, I always make this a joke and say, my poor husband sleeps with one eye open. He never knows what I'm up to. So shadows are very much part of. They're not part of my life, my real life, but they're very
Yes.
much part of my fantasy life. So
Hmm. That's so
I
beautiful.
just love writing about shadows. So maybe that is why. And then it was Dipanka Mukherjee of Readomania. He was the one who gave me this chance to write the start with Shadow in the Mirror, and he says it would be wonderful if we could just carry on writing about shadows. So the idea
Hmm.
came from him, and then we never looked back, because now it's the fourth. I don't mind writing a fifth and a sixth. I hope the punker is listening.
So good, lovely to hear. And when you said the line, shadows, the color, the minds of the readers.
Yes.
So it is such a it really resonated because whenever we do stories with shadow puppets, they
Oh
would be
yeah.
on a white screen, the dark puppets they keep
Yes,
playing,
yes, yes,
so
yes.
we don't color them most of the times because we leave the story to the imagination of the viewers, to the
Absolutely.
audience.
Yes,
So
yes.
that when you said that line, it just caught me. That is
And
so
shadow
beautiful.
puppets, it's such a beautiful way to tell stories. So beautiful.
Yeah, lovely, lovely.
Lovely. Oh yes.
I'm just learning it. I'm a newbie to that, but I'm just making a couple of puppets and just trying to,
How lovely.
move them around the screen and all. So
Okay, okay, okay.
that's
Lovely,
so,
lovely. I think that's another aspect of you that we will look forward to, right?
sure, sure, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever you write stories and all, for example, do you do any kind of research when you're thinking about the plot or the characters? What kind of research, like, how do you pick this research lines and all? What lines do you?
Research is, I think, very very important. It's not
Mm,
as important when you're writing a short story, that is, that you're in control of the short story, and some
yes.
short
Yes.
stories, yes, if you're talking about a certain place. Like I had
Yes.
a short story in Goa, which was
Huh.
a thriller story in Goa, and I had to do my homework because I needed to know the streets and the different landmarks, because you
Yes.
can't afford to make a mistake, because people who live in Goa are going to catch hold of your throat and say you don't know what you're talking about, you know
Yes.
and
True.
especially the Shadow in the Mirror is a psychological thriller. Now I have
Hmm.
not done psychology, but I believe I people don't need to learn psychology in a daily routine, but when you
Hmm.
meet people, you do understand about their psychology, how
Hmm.
their minds tick and all that. So
Yes.
I knew what I was writing about. I
Hmm.
went through a number of cases also to see
Hmm.
whether those symptoms that I have put in are correct.
Hmm. Hmm.
Of course, a lot was my imagination, and then I
Hmm.
just went into those symptoms to see if all those gel. If they don't, what can I do to make those a little more lifelike? So there, I
Hmm.
had to do a lot of research, since I'm not a psychology student, for Shadow in the
Yes.
Mirror.
Yes.
My
Yes.
last book, The Web of Shadows, it's based in two different places. Like I said, Mumbai and Kerala, and
Yes.
I had to do a lot of research on in both areas,
Hmm.
because I
Hmm.
was dealing with two areas which I had only read about. I had no idea about, especially
Hmm.
the Kerala part, where I was dealing with a family that was using tantric practices.
Hmm. Hmm.
I knew nothing about that. So I kept
Hmm.
reading and reading and reading and going in, and I felt I could not make a mistake there, because that is all
Hmm.
something that is like, it's like culture. You can't tamper
Yes.
with culture.
Yes. Yes. True.
And on the other side, Mumbai, it was a brothel that I
Yes.
was dealing with. Again, a brothel, you have so many newspaper accounts of girls being lured and all that. So I did a lot
Hmm.
of research there as well.
Hmm.
Finally,
Hmm.
I brought the whole thing together. And
Hmm.
my other book, the Dance in the Trance, again, it's a number of my books are based in Kerala, actually.
Okay. Okay.
Shadow in the Mirror also has Kerala in it. The Web of Shadows also. My mother's book, of course, Defying Destiny, is also a lot to do with uh, after, before and after, before she
Okay.
started a school and after she started a school.
Uh-huh.
So there is again a lot of places, because she was also an army wife, and then Kerala. And the dance
Uh-huh.
and the trance again had a lot of, it has a lot of culture that
Hmm.
I have grown up with. Grown
Hmm.
up in the sense, when I was a child, I've heard a lot about it. So again, I had to
Yes.
do, when I'm writing about Kerala and I'm living in Kerala, I jolly well make sure of my facts. And be
Exactly.
very, very careful. So yes, a lot of
Yes.
research does go in, because I don't want to make small little mistakes that will take away from the importance or the significance of my writing.
Correct. Very right. Yes.
That
Yes.
is why,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm. True.
Yeah.
And William Shakespeare was an English playwright, poet, and an actor. Greatest writers we call him of his times. When I had this my in my MA English first year, I was like, oh my god, I was unable to understand also his poetry and all. It was very difficult for me. And you have totally made a book, no, a retelling of his entire classic stories. So, what made you choose this
um,
particular project?
yeah, actually, I've always loved literature. I've done literature all my life. I did it for my graduation, post graduation. I did my B.Ed in English, and I did a diploma in journalism. So everything I've done is around English. And when you do an MA in English or an BA also, you cannot get away from Shakespeare. You know,
Yeah.
he's there. He's a larger than life figure in the world, not only in the world of literature, in the world of drama, in the world of
Yes.
culture, everywhere.
Yes.
you know and
Yes.
so I have always loved Shakespeare, basically because when he says something, you cannot take him at face value. You
Hmm.
can bring out three, four, five different meanings for every word he uses. And a
Hmm.
lot of people have dropped Shakespeare because they say, "Oh my God, he's too difficult, too convoluted, we cannot understand," and all that. And so I
True.
said, "Oh my God, how much are they missing out on? I wish people could love him the way I do." And so I said, and then again, this was also an idea that came from Readomania. Dipankar told me, I mean, would you like to do this? I'm not
Hmm.
taxing you. Would you like to do this? And I jumped at the idea because yes, I thought it was right up my alley. And so that is how this book came across. And what was even better, if you can see the cover
Yes.
and the back, there are
Oh
a number
my.
of illustrations all over. They have all been done by the students in my school.
Oh my
A
God.
whole lot of them, yes.
This
I'm
is
so
good.
proud of them. So this book is so close to me because uh, we run an ICSE ISC school, and
Hmm.
we have Shakespeare in its entirety. Ninth and 10th, you
Yes.
do one complete play of
Yeah.
Shakespeare. 11th and 12th. So that was also there on my mind. Maybe if I write a book like this, my children and children across the country make may be able to make Shakespeare a little more little less complex. They might be able to
Yeah.
understand. So I tried to demystify all his plays and brought them into simple, readable English. But I did not want to leave it at that, because that has been
Hmm.
done earlier. Charles and Mary Lamb had done that earlier. I also wanted them to realize that his language is beautiful. So I took parts of his actual lines, and I put them into every absolutely into every
Hmm.
story. And I said, and those were lines which I did not take the philosophical lines. I did not take the descriptive lines. I took the lines that connected parts of the story and made it a whole. So you have
Hmm.
my writing, and then you have Shakespearean language. You have put it in italics, and then I go
Okay.
on again. So that is how I actually worked on it. It took some time, but since I enjoyed it, it was not. It didn't feel like time. It just
Exactly.
felt like a very pleasurable task, and I'm very happy with the final product because I have my children to thank, and I had a number of beta readers, children
Hmm.
from my school, and also children from beyond the box. Anupama
Oh.
Dalmia, she really helped me out a lot because she loaned me a lot of children who read the stories, and I took suggestions from all the children who read my stories. But they said, "This, ma'am, this seems a little difficult, too complex." So I would bring it down. Then they said,
Okay.
"Ma'am, this does somehow we have not understood." So I would try to change the language. So I got a lot of help from those children, and of course from my
Lovely.
illustrators, and that is how this
Lovely.
book came through.
Damn, that's so beautiful. I'll have to read that book now. I'll immediately order for that book because I'm also just like you said, that Shakespeare itself sounds so scary to me, which I don't understand. I know I did not do my MA English second year because I was so scared of it. I did only my first year, and whatever I wrote for the drama examination, I just watched movies and wrote it. I shouldn't speak this with an author like you, but I'm telling you bluntly.
And Shakespeare is everywhere, You
Oh
all his
God.
sayings, like all that glitters is not gold. A
Yes,
pound of
yes,
flesh. They're all there. People use it all the time. Sometimes
yes,
without even knowing. Wear my heart on
exactly.
my sleeve. People sometimes don't realize, but it comes directly from him.
Yes, true, true. This
Yeah.
is so wonderful to know, really. Like, now, it's been more of, I was talking, asking you lots of questions. Now I want to listen to you. Can you read an excerpt from, from your favorite writings?
Absolutely. Shall I read from Shakespeare? Or will that be
Yes,
too?
yes, yes. I would love to. I would love to
Okay, okay.
listen.
So I have actually earmarked. Um,
Yeah.
we have, if you actually look at it, uh, one of my favorite plays of all times. One is Julius Caesar, and one is Macbeth. Now, Macbeth,
Oh.
I'm sure you know why, because Macbeth is a very dark kind of play,
Yes,
you know.
yes,
So,
yes.
as you know, what happens is when Macbeth is, I'm sure you've read Macbeth, right?
A little,
A little, yeah. So
which I
Macbeth
didn't
is
understand.
okay. So Macbeth is one of those really brave, forthright generals, and the king of the land is called Duncan. Now,
Mm,
what happens is Macbeth is very ambitious, and his wife, Lady Macbeth, is even more ambitious. Now, so Macbeth
mm,
comes back after battle, and he's given a lot of honors by the king, and Lady Macbeth, and then he sees three witches. What I love about Macbeth is, you have fantasy, three witches coming, and they're talking about Macbeth, and they're the cauldron. The first scene is how the three witches are, they're stirring the cauldron, and they're talking about Macbeth and how are we going to meet Macbeth and all that. So when Macbeth comes back from battle, these three witches stop him and they say, Macbeth, and they hail him and they say, you're going to be you being given these honors. There are three honors. That there are
mm.
two are that you're going to be a Thane of Cawdor. The Thane meaning a lord. You're going to be
Okay.
given two of those, and you will be king thereafter.
Mm,
And that seeds, that is the first seed that comes into Macbeth's mind. And when he tells his
mm,
wife, she says, "Let's do it." So
mm.
when the king Duncan goes, he loves Macbeth and he wants to go and honor him. He goes and stays for a night at Macbeth's castle, and Macbeth, the Lady Macbeth, kind of spurs him on, and she says, "You kill him," and Macbeth kills him. So
Mm.
that is the context here. So I just read a little bit here.
Yes, yes.
So Duncan arrives there at Macbeth's castle. Um, so they have their feast in the evening and all that, and you have just before the murder, Macbeth loses his nerve. He tells his wife, I don't want to do it. After all, he's my king. I mean, I
Mm,
it's a crime. So Lady Macbeth says, so the more I start reading here, the moment Macbeth revealed his doubts, Lady Macbeth accused him of cowardice. She said that this was the perfect opportunity and that they needed to be bold. Now, here's Shakespearean language. So he says, we may fail. She says, we fail? But screw your courage to the sticking place and we'll not fail. Her nimble brain had already formulated the perfect plan in which they would get the king's chamberlains drunk with wine and smear them with the king's blood so that suspicion would fall on them. Her strong resolve convinced Macbeth to go ahead with their plan. That night, after Duncan had retired to bed, Banquo, Banquo is a friend of Macbeth's, Banquo and Macbeth had a conversation about the three witches. When Macbeth was left alone, he suddenly saw the vision of a dagger floating before him. He could hardly believe his eyes. For the next moment, he imagined drops of blood on the dagger. As he struggled to bring his mind under control, a bell rang, signifying that it was time to commit the crime. He stealthily made his way to Duncan's bedchamber. A little while later, Lady Macbeth came out, waiting for her husband to commit the crime. A noise from within startled her, but soon Macbeth came out, telling her, I have done the deed. He was shaken because he heard the two chamberlains outside the king's door awaken and pray before they went back into their drunken slumber. In his haste, he had brought with him their two daggers with which he had murdered Duncan. He could not face going back to smear their faces with Duncan's blood. He cried out wildly, Methought I heard a voice cry, Sleep no more, Macbeth doth murder sleep. He suddenly realized the immensity of the crime he had committed. And that is how Lady Macbeth takes the daggers from him. She is strong enough. She goes to the sleeping chamberlains and she smears their faces with blood and she leaves the
Hmm.
daggers by him. And comes back and tells her husband, A little water clears us of this deed.
Hmm.
So, that and it goes on like that. And that is how.
But that
So,
is so beautiful to read. I'm able to understand everything. Like,
thank you so much.
this
I'm
is
happy that.
really, I'm just, wondering how Shakespeare does it look so beautiful? Will it become such a beautiful read? This is really very nice. The way it flew, it is like, as if anybody can understand it. It's just like that, as simple as that.
I'm so happy because that is exactly why I wrote this book. I would
Uh,
love, yeah, basically, it's for young minds, but a lot of
yes,
older people have also come and told me maybe we will read your book because we have never been able to understand the original, and maybe
yes.
we will be able to. So that adults also are, reading the book. So I'm happy about that. So maybe, something that I've done out there in the world, I feel like, Sound of Music, Maria says no. Maybe somewhere in my
Yeah.
youth and childhood, I've done something good.
Yes, yes. True, true, Deepthi. Such wonderful. Very nice. In fact, probably this would go as, a takeaway also in couple of my, upcoming events. I would give this as a takeaway for any literature events for the children, as a giveaway. Like, that would be
Thank you
really
so much.
nice for them.
Thank you
Because some
so
children
much.
would love to read literature related books, right? So
Yes, yes,
this
yes,
would be
yes.
this would be the best giveaway for them. That is so
Oh,
nice.
thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot, Rohini.
Yeah, loved it. Really loved it. We had beautiful conversations, and time flew just by. I didn't even notice it. I feel it like, and I was just thinking like, if I had someone like you reading out the Shakespeare stories and all, I would have cleared MA English literature.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Actually, I've always loved, I've loved reading. I've loved, I love acting, things like that. So I think all that
Uh,
goes into my being a writer as well.
yeah.
All these roles put together. So I think
Yes.
that is.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You really made my day.
No, no, no. It's a fact because I did my MCA Masters in Computer Applications and I'm a cost accountant. I was into technical writing and all. Suddenly, somewhere it pricked my mind that I have to do MA English also. But when I entered into it, I felt it was an ocean which I will never be able to dive and go to the other end. So I just stopped it at the first
Ah,
instance itself. So, but when I'm listening to you, your conversations and the way you have written books and all, sounds so beautiful. Such a wonderful and a profound journey, Dipya. Really, it's a beautiful Women's Day. I can say, speaking to such a
thank
woman
you.
who is a master in many things, so much to learn from you, so much to know from you. I don't think one episode would be enough for me. So
Rohini,
that's
thank
so
you. I
nice.
think there's enough. I think I can learn so much from you as well, because
Mm.
I think we fuel one another. We women, we fuel
Yes,
one another. That is how it
yes,
should be also. Like I think,
true.
this year the UN also they say no.
Yeah,
The theme is also that empowering women. It's always
ex-
empowering women, but that
yes,
is towards progress.
exactly, exactly.
Accelerate progress. I think
Exactly, exactly.
if each one of us can actually do that, try to bring each other, one
Yeah,
another up. I think the world would be such a beautiful place.
very right. True.
Absolutely. And Women's
And
Day,
for the
happy to be here on Women's Day also. Thank you for
yeah,
bringing me this honor, for bringing me here on Women's Day because it
no, it's
means
my pleasure. It's our honor. It's our honor having you. And the moment I just asked you, you said yes. That itself made my reels of life very special. And what is the advice that you would like to give to writers who are newbies or who want to enter into the space of writing, creative writing, novel writing, or whatever it is? Any
You
kind
know,
of advice?
one of my favorite writers is Oscar Wilde. He's written a lot of
Oh,
stories, and he's a he's got this amazing sense of humor. I love
yes.
humor. I love anything to do with humor. I think every
Hmm.
person should have a funny bone.
Yes,
And
yes, true,
that again would make the world a brighter place. So he said,
true.
giving advice is absolutely silly, and giving good advice is fatal. I don't actually say I'm qualified to give advice, but what I do, I can always say what I do.
Yes.
I think we should all write with our hearts. Let
Hmm.
everything you want come out there, but when you edit, it must be with your mind.
That is a
And
difficult part.
never ever send your first draft anywhere, because you will be horrified at what you've written. you know my
True.
first draft, I say, oh my god, so many mistakes, okay, and so much. But I try, for me, I try to edit it as and when I'm writing, which I've been told not to do, because they say don't do that,
Yes.
it kind of stops the flow. But for me, I
Yes.
think, as I'm also an English teacher, for me,
Yes.
mistakes jump out at me. My school teachers in school and my children in school tell me, ma'am, what is wrong with you? Not one mistake escapes you. I think that is
Hmm.
because I have that the
I.
eye of an editor, maybe that is why.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
I think, but I always feel that you must send your best work out. If you are
Hmm.
especially going to send it to a publisher, make sure your work is as perfect as you can make it. If you feel there's more work to be done, please get an editor or a friend who can help you edit, and then only
Exactly.
send it out there, because your first
True.
draft can never be the best. It
Right.
will be the
Right.
most emotional, it will be the most coming from deep within, yes, but it need not
Exactly.
be your best version.
Yeah. True. True,
And
Deepti.
the other thing I firmly believe in is, if you don't love your own writing, if you write
Hmm.
something which bores you, you're going to
Hmm.
bore everybody else who reads your writing. So
Yeah.
everything
Hmm.
you write must sparkle, and for that,
Hmm.
as a writer, you have to take pains. You might say, okay, leave it, let it be, that's okay, that is the way I write. But what happens is, the way you write may not be the way others want to read.
Hmm.
So you have to somewhere have a standard below which you must not come, I feel. So I think
Yes.
this is not advice, this is what I do. I try and kind
Hmm.
of put all this in. And today's writing, you have so many wonderful writers, so many of
Hmm.
them. Young
Yes.
writers, middle-aged
Yes.
writers, older writers. I think everybody has something to offer. Read. I
True.
think reading, go into their minds, pick their minds. That is the
Exactly.
only way that you'll be able to improve your own writing. If you don't read, you're going like this. It's like a one, your horse with reins. You have
Exactly.
you have to
Correct.
open up your minds. Otherwise,
Correct.
your writing will not evolve.
Correct. Correct. True.
That's what I
The
feel.
more you read, the more you get to know, and then only because the other day I met an author. Then somebody asked her, how did you become a writer? She said, I'm no a voracious reader, and that is what
Uh,
made me a writer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Most writers are voracious readers, I feel.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
because you can't, you're not an island. You can't survive alone. You have to
Yes.
have so many, and nowadays there are so many wonderful writing communities also.
That's
You
right.
yourself are running such a wonderful outfit. It's so, all these make us want to do more, because you all are there. You're holding our hands and
Correct.
bringing us forward. So I think all we need to thank people like you. You're a writer
Thank you
yourself,
so
but
much.
you're also providing so much of fodder for us to help us in our writing journeys. So I think we have to
Thank you
thank
so
people
much.
like you to do
Thank you
this.
so much. That words coming from you, it's really, I feel so humbled and
Straight from
gives
my
me
heart.
a boost. Thank you so much. It really boosts my spirit, to do more and more. Just now I said, like, I would be taking a break, but I hate it. This won't allow me to sit now. Thank you. Thank you so very much, Deepthi, for taking time and gracing this occasion on this special day, Women's Day, and to all the viewers also. Thank you so much for joining in, and catch up next time. In our bi-monthly show with another eminent personality. Till then, this is Rohini Jayanti Katha Karwan signing off. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Rohini. I enjoyed our conversation.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye, Deepthi. See you soon. Bye bye.